In December 2025, the world waited for answers. Documents from the United States Department of Justice about Jeffrey Epstein would finally be released, partially. This happened after President Trump signed, on November 19, 2025, the Epstein Files Transparency Act, a law promising transparency. But what did we receive? Pages and pages, redacted, erased, censored. This is the story of the biggest financial and political cover-up of the decade. And if you're American, especially if you come from communities that know well the broken promises of government, this story will sound very familiar. What are the Epstein Files and why are they in the spotlight in 2025? The Epstein Files are thousands of DOJ documents, the Department of Justice, about Jeffrey Epstein, the billionaire convicted of sex crimes who died under mysterious circumstances in a cell in 2019. These files were partially released in December 2025. But here's the disturbing detail. Did you know? The FBI spent $851,000 just on overtime between January and July 2025 to redact these documents. That's right, almost $1 million to hide information. Think about it. Governments spend fortunes hiding truths. And guess who pays the bill? You, the American taxpayer. Does this affect ordinary Americans, especially those who have already been betrayed by this same government? The answer lies in the next pages of this script. The billion-dollar money behind Epstein's network. Let's talk numbers. Big numbers. $1.1 billion. That's the amount in financial transactions linked to Jeffrey Epstein. Wall Street names appear everywhere. Leon Black, billionaire from the financial market, is among them. But here's where it gets interesting and disturbing. Did you know? JPMorgan Chase, one of the world's largest banks, closed Epstein's accounts in 2013, but continued reporting suspicious activities until 2019. 6 years later. Why does a bank close someone's account for suspected crimes, but continue monitoring their activities for years? Because they profited from it. In a truly free market perspective, without state protection, corrupt companies would be punished immediately by competition and society. But what do we see here? The state protecting elites. It always has been this way. For Native American peoples, this is not news. Broken treaties, stolen lands, all in the name of elite economic interests. The structure is the same, only the names have changed. Why does massive redaction generate distrust? Now let's get to the heart of the cover-up. More than 1,000 documents per week were redacted, erased, by DOJ lawyers and specialists. Imagine the scene. Dozens of people sitting in government offices, with black markers, covering names, dates, facts. Did you know? A photo of Donald Trump was removed from the documents without official explanation. Senator Chuck Schumer raised this issue publicly, but so far, silence. Americans already know the power of government cover-ups. How many times have historical documents about native lands, treaties, and massacres been lost or classified? The question remains, are they protecting victims or protecting the powerful? Transparency and redaction issues. Let's talk about a specific document, a 119-page transcript from the federal grand jury. Know how many of those pages were released without redaction? 0. 119 pages completely erased. This raises a fundamental question. Is the purpose of redactions to protect innocent victims, or to cover up the interests of powerful figures? Each erased line is an unanswered question. Each censored name is a confirmed suspicion. And each blank page is another blow to the trust that the American people should have in their judicial institutions. For communities that have already seen the government rewrite their own history, erasing massacres, renaming sacred places, this tactic is nothing new. It's just another page from the same playbook. The political connections. Bondi, Patel, and the Trump administration. Now we enter the political minefield. Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez raised public accusations against Pam Bondi, current Attorney General, and Kash Patel, suggesting they are protecting elites connected to the Epstein scandal. Did you know? In November, Bondi requested access to grand jury transcripts about Epstein. She was denied. Why? Nobody explains. If even the Attorney General of the United States cannot access public documents about a convicted criminal, who's really in control? In an ANCAP vision, this perfectly exemplifies how the state uses politics to protect the rich and powerful, not to serve the free. The system isn't broken. It's working exactly as it was designed, to benefit those at the top. And ordinary Americans? They continue waiting for justice that never comes. The financial impact on American communities. But this isn't just an elite scandal. It has real consequences for real people. Scandals like this destroy trust in financial institutions. And when trust disappears, markets tremble. Did you know? After the partial document leaks in 2025, It's estimated there were losses of up to $500 million in investments linked to figures mentioned in the files. Who suffers from this? Not the billionaires. It's the small investors, the families who trusted their savings in financial systems that, once again, proved to be unjust. Native Americans have already suffered for centuries with unjust financial systems. Lands taken without fair compensation, natural resources exploited without benefit to communities, economic treaties systematically broken. The Epstein Files are just another chapter in this story of institutionalized exploitation. Cover-up stories. What does the past teach? Let's make an important historical connection. Cases of financial corruption in the United States have always disproportionately affected marginalized communities, especially Native peoples. Did you know? In 1871, the United States government officially stopped recognizing Native tribes as sovereign nations. Why? To facilitate economic exploitations. Lands, resources, everything became easier to take when you don't need to negotiate with nations. It's the same pattern. When there's money at stake, truth is buried, documents are lost, and powerful interests prevail. In a society without a centralized state, accountability would be direct. There would be no bureaucracy to hide crimes. There would be no institutions protecting elites. Transparency would be forced by the very structure of the free market. The role of big companies, JPMorgan and beyond. Let's return to JPMorgan Chase, because this story deserves attention. Since 2002, the bank has issued suspicious activity reports about Epstein. Since 2002. That's more than a decade before closing his accounts in 2013. Did you know? Even after officially closing Epstein's accounts, JPMorgan continued profiting from related transactions for years. How is this possible? How can a bank know that something suspicious is happening for more than a decade and continue profiting? Big companies ignoring the interests of ordinary Americans in the name of profit. Is this new? For Native peoples, who saw their lands exploited by corporations with government blessing, this story is old. The difference is that now, with Epstein, the whole world is paying attention. Cryptocurrencies as an exit? A libertarian vision. But what if there was an alternative? A way to escape this corrupt system? Scandals like the Epstein Files are driving a massive movement toward Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. The prediction for Bitcoin in 2025? $143,000 per unit. Did you know? Bitcoin miners are beginning to pivot to artificial intelligence, creating an infrastructure that can decentralize not only finances, but the entire digital economy. Think about it. With cryptocurrencies, you don't need to trust banks like JPMorgan. You don't need government intermediaries. Your transactions are transparent, recorded in a public ledger that no one can erase. Free markets with cryptography eliminate dependence on corrupt banks and cover-up governments. It's exactly what an ANCAP perspective defends. Individual sovereignty, transparency forced by technology, not by laws that can be broken. For Native American communities, who have always sought economic self-determination, cryptocurrencies can be a powerful tool for financial emancipation. Public reactions and the future of the files. Public reaction to the Epstein Files has been explosive. Senator Chuck Schumer called this the biggest cover-up in American history. Congresswoman AOC accused figures in the Trump administration of complicity. Did you know? The FBI accumulated more than 4,737 overtime hours just to redact these files. That's almost 200 days of continuous work, 24 hours a day. What are they hiding that requires so much effort? The question that Native Americans have been asking for centuries resonates here. Can the voice of ordinary Americans really demand transparency? Or does power remain in the hands of the same people as always? The future of the Epstein Files depends on public pressure. And for the first time in a long time, it seems the public won't give up so easily. Political polarization in the debate. But here we arrive at a serious problem: polarization. The Epstein case has become an arena of partisan dispute. Republicans blame Democrats. Democrats blame Republicans. Figures like Pam Bondi and Kash Patel are attacked by the left, while the right points to connections with the Clinton family. The question is the search for justice being overshadowed by political agendas? When everything becomes left versus right, the real victims and the truth are forgotten in the middle of the ring. For communities that have already been used as political pawns, promised things by one party, betrayed by the other, this game is painfully familiar. The real question isn't who is politically guilty, but rather, why does the entire system allow this to happen? Visual impact of images and sensationalism. Photos of public figures in questionable contexts circulate on social media. Some authentic, others possibly manipulated. This raises important ethical questions. Are these images being used to inform or to shock. Sensationalism can shape public perception in dangerous ways. A photo out of context can destroy reputations, but it can also hide bigger truths when the public gets distracted by superficial scandal. We need to be critical. What's the difference between necessary transparency and sensationalist exploitation? Frustration with failed direct access. And here we arrive at the feeling you're probably experiencing now. Frustration. Frustration with incomplete documents, with redacted pages, with the feeling that they're hiding something important, but you'll never know what. Imagine a system where people had access to raw information without government filters, without redactions, without experts deciding what you can or cannot know. But then the dilemma arises. Can total transparency generate confusion? Can information without context be dangerous? It's a difficult balance, but one thing is certain. The current system, where only a few decide what the public deserves to know, is failing miserably. What does this mean for your financial freedom? Now let's talk to you directly. After all this, the hidden billions, the corrupt banks, the covering up governments, how can you trust traditional financial systems? Did you know? A 2025 survey showed that 70% of Americans plan to invest in alternative assets in 2026. Bitcoin, gold, properties, anything beyond the traditional banking system. The lesson from the Epstein Files is clear. Control your wealth outside the state's reach. Don't trust institutions that have repeatedly proven to protect elites at your expense. Seek financial sovereignty. Educate yourself about cryptocurrency, decentralized investments, ways to protect your wealth without corrupt intermediaries. For Native Americans who have fought for centuries for self-determination, this message resonates deeply. Don't wait for the system to free you. Free yourself from it. Conclusion and final reflection. So, where does this leave us? The Epstein Files exposed fundamental tensions between power, truth, and justice. Billions of dollars, powerful figures, redacted documents, broken promises. My personal reflection? Trust in institutions, whether governmental or financial, is shaken. And perhaps it needs to be. Perhaps this shakeup is necessary to force real changes, so that ordinary people demand more, so that transparency stops being an empty promise and becomes a reality forced by technology, public pressure, and new systems that don't depend on the goodwill of the powerful. The discussion about the Epstein Files doesn't end here. It has only just begun. The question is, will you settle for the crumbs of information they give you? Or will you seek your own answers, your own freedom? How to deal with secrets and sensitive information in a digital age? How to balance privacy, transparency, and justice? These are questions that each of us needs to answer. And the answer may determine the future not only of scandals like this, but of our entire society. The truth is out there. The question is, are you ready to seek it?